I had been studying in Paris for about 6 months when, in Monsieur Bonnat's school, where I was making my first attempts at drawing from the model, I heard some of the senior pupils, who had advanced to the dignity of painting studies from life, talk about a picture in the Salon of 1878 by Dagnan-Bouveret. They spoke so highly of it and said it was so good that the next time I went to the Salon I made a point of seeing it. It was the Manon Lescaut, a canvas of moderate size and, as it seemed to me in my ignorance, rather empty and uninteresting. I have never had better proof of the fact that appreciation of good art depends upon the cultivation of the sense of seeing than my first impression of that picture. In 1880, when I saw The Accident by Dagnan, I became, like every other young painter in Paris, an enthusiastic advocate of the ability of the brilliant artist, whose name became, by the exhibition of that picture, as well known as that of Bastien-Lepage. These two young men have always stood side by side in my mental retrospect of the achievement of French painters, up to the time that Bastien's career was ended by his untimely death in 1884. Since then, I have followed as closely as possible his work and progress over the years, with great expectations. He is a man of small stature, with dark hair and beard, intense eyes that investigate and pierce the mystery of the subject that occupies his attention, a strong, determined will, and the most resolute perseverance. He cares nothing for the fashionable life, but lives solely for his art. In his studio and garden at Neuilly he works incessantly. Sometimes he goes to the country with his wife and son, and there too he works with equal ardour. A little story about the horses at the watering trough well illustrates the thoroughness of his methods. Dagnan was passing the summer at his father-in-law's place, and there saw the subject of this picture. His father-in-law entered with great interest into the project of making a picture of the farm horses, and arranged various devices to make the task of painting the picture from nature as convenient as possible. The summer wore on, and the picture progressed, but the way Dagnan paints a large canvas, or a little one for that matter, takes time. So, at his father-in-law's suggestion, they took casts of the horses' backs by laying over them cloths soaked in plaster of Paris, and when these were hard and dry they were set up, and the harness was placed on them just as it would be if the horses themselves were standing before the trough. And here every day Dagnan came to paint his straps and buckles, and before he had finished them to his satisfaction the snow fell on his palette as he worked. What it shows is Dagnan believes no detail in a picture may be neglected. Everything, however small, has its own character, and that distinctive character can be rendered only by the most thorough study. Like all great artists, he knows that there is as much character in a hand as in a head. No two noses are exactly alike, and no general type will serve to represent them. He carries out the same principle in the minor parts of his pictures, and that these minor parts should be broadly indicated only. I have seen much to convince me that Dagnan-Bouveret is one of the ablest painters of our time, and that his temperament, most refined and sympathetic in its artistic quality, is supported by a skilfulness of technique and an individuality of expression that give to his works a personal character such as few others possess. The chief points of technical excellence in Dagnan's work are, first, his drawing, which is delicately felt, irreproachably correct, and faithful to detail. Second, sympathetic and refined colour schemes of more depth and of more variety than are usually found, and give such careful attention to form as he does. Third, frank, simple, and unobtrusive brushwork, and fourth, good composition. In composition, his originality is remarkable. The painting, Breton Women at the Pardon, must be passed with the mere mention that it is one of the finest of his works, and the one perhaps that has given him the most renown. When the dust behind the fin de siècle chariot shall have cleared away, we shall find the work of such men as Dagnan-Bouveret standing like signposts on the road to point the way to truth. William A. Coffin. And finally, don't forget to check the link below for our e-book special offers, and thank you.